Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so happy to see you here. We've gathered here to talk about 26 books that I'm planning on reading in 2026, and this year, as opposed to 2 or 3 previous years, I'm actually dedicated to reading all books on this list. I think I've never read more than a half of the books that I compiled at the end of each previous year, because I was using a weird strategy of choosing the books that I thought I might grow to want to read, not books that I want to read at the moment. So this year I decided to adopt a completely different strategy. If it was physically possible for me, I would be reading all these 26 books at the same time. So grab yourself a drink, get cozy, and let's start. I have the whole list in my reading journal, so I will be looking there in order to talk about all the books that I want to talk about. And the first one is none other than The Will of the Many by James Islington. This book has been blowing up my booktube for I think 2 or 3 months now, and everyone seems to be obsessed with it. I'm yet to see a person rate it lower than 4.5, and that is crazy. From what I know, the whole concept of the book revolves around hierarchy, where people who are higher ranked feed off the will of those who are under them. I've heard that there is an amazing academical setting and that everyone loves our main character. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited to be obsessed as well. With high fantasy books like this, I prefer to go into them blind in order to not set any prejudices for myself and later be disappointed because I had some other expectations. But I think from all I know, I am absolutely gonna devour this book, and I'm definitely gonna be reading it in the very near future. Next is a book that unfortunately is not currently out, and that is Rites of the Starling by Devney. It is a sequel to Shield of Sparrows, and I ate that book up when I read it in October, if I'm not mistaken. It literally has everything I love. It has an amazing plot, amazing characters, so many plot twists at the end that I never saw coming. I cried at the end, which even though I'm a huge crier, I rarely tear up at books, so that definitely tells you something. I literally cannot wait for October to finally get my hands on that book and to be in that world again, because it was stunning. Shield of Sparrows was one of the best books I read in 2025, so hopefully Rites of Starling do not disappoint, and that book is also gonna end up on my top 10 list from 2026. The book that I actually soft DNF'd in 2025, however, I am planning on getting to it this year, and that is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I just picked it up at a completely wrong time. I had absolutely no mood to read a sci-fi book, and I could understand how amazing the world is, how amazing literally everything in that book was. I just couldn't quite push myself through it, so I decided to put it down for the time being and get back to it later. I'm so excited to finally get to Pierce Brown's works and to finally delve into the series, because it is another well-loved series all over the booktube, and I actually just cannot wait to finally get into it. I think and I hope that I'm gonna love this book and be obsessed with this series and this world, because the idea behind the book sounds amazing. A lot of people compare this book to Hunger Games but set in the space, not in the sense that there are deadly trials, but in the sense that there is a rebellion brewing from people who are oppressed. The Raven's Collar, yet another fantasy book in an academical setting, and this time this book has trials. Except for all the reviews that I've seen online, I literally know nothing about that book, but ever since Maddie read it and she raved about how amazing this book is, it's been on my TBR and I've been waiting to get into it. It's kind of sad starting series that are not completed yet and there is yet no sequel, but whatever. I need to train my patience, and I think with such series I am gonna do that. So excited, and I'm so excited to see what all the hype around that book is. I'm just a sucker for fantasy and academical setting. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Do I know a lot about this book? No. Do I want to? Actually, nope. I loved Rachel Gillig's Shepherd King duology for its intricate world, amazing magic system, and gothic vibes. Stunning. So I'm hoping that this new series of hers is just as amazing as that one, and from what I've heard, it really is. I've heard about Bartholomew from this series and I have no idea who that is, but I think I'm excited to meet them. The next book I actually have a physical copy of, and this is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett. First of all, can we just appreciate the amazing and stunning cover? Hello. This is a cozy fantasy about Emily Wilde, who goes into a remote island to research these fairies and essentially write an encyclopedia on them. And I think there are some adventures and a love line that everyone seems to love. And I'm excited to meet Wendell because, again, everyone seems to love him, so I'm feeling left out. I think it's gonna be like a fairy tale, but an adult one. And as a fairy tale lover, I think I'm gonna eat it up. The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. Honestly, a mouthful of title. It is the third installment in the Crowns of Nyaxia series and the first book in the Shadowborn duet by Carissa Broadbent. The FMC in this book is Maehrer. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I'm always not sure about that. And she was one of my favorite characters from the first duology that I read in this series. She's just a ray of sunshine, however, with a very tragic backstory, so I'm really excited to get to know her more and follow her story. I am so excited for this book, and it's definitely very high on my priority TBR, because it would be nice to continue some series that I'm in the middle of, instead of starting 26 new ones. Now, to break a little bit of my fantasy books, Flawless by Elsie Silver. I'm pretty sure everyone and their mothers have heard about Chestnut Sprint series, or at least of Elsie Silver, and I think it's finally my time to learn what all the hype is about. Hopefully I'm gonna learn what the whole hype is about and not be disappointed like I usually tend to be when I set too high expectations. On Goodreads for this book it says, the rules were simple. Keep my hands off his daughter and stay out of trouble. For now I'm stuck with her. There's only one bet. And well, the rules are made to be broken. I'm excited. The tags say that it is enemies to lovers, forced proximity, which I literally cannot wait for. Another book that unfortunately is not currently out, but it comes out very early in January, so I'm adding it to my list and I don't have to wait that long for it. The Book of Blood and Roses by Annie Summerlee. It is a paranormal fantasy where a vampire hunter falls in love with a vampire herself, and all of this in a Scottish academical setting. Sign me up. I want yearning, I want tension, I want great vibes, and if to believe the arc readers of the book, I am soon to get that. I've heard mixed reviews about this next series, and that is Dark Cries. Some people seem to be utterly obsessed with it, some people seem to hate it, some people feel low-key meh, so I'm really curious to see where I fall. But everyone agrees that the ending goes crazy, especially in the second book of the trilogy, and since all the books I think are currently out, I think this is gonna be a great series to binge. The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. I've heard that this book is like Percy Jackson but for adults, and maybe I should have read Percy Jackson first. I am excited to read Percy Jackson, but I don't know whether I will in near future. However, in that book we have Trials, which I'm always a sucker for, and the romance that should be a slow burn, but we'll see how that goes because as of late, romanticists tend to forget that in the blurb it's written slow burn, and they are like making out literally in second chapter, which no, we do not like that. Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry as well. I know, two books by the same author on this list. I loved her and I want to read other series by her, so we'll see how it goes. This one, however, is in a completely different genre. It is a mystery book with a subplot of romance and it's all set in a small town. I think this series will be a great like palate cleanser in between all the fantasy reads that I have on this list. And I'm just overall very excited about it because romance and mystery mixed together, I tend to enjoy that. The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I've heard this book being compared to Hunger Games, and if you know me at all, you know just how obsessed with Hunger Games I am. So I'm very much excited, especially because I've already read one book by Samantha Shannon and I know that I love her writing style. And the way she builds the story, the characters, the world, everything is just absolutely stunning. So I'm excited to delve into this pretty long series of hers. There will be 7 books in this series, however there are only 5 that are currently out. So unfortunately another incomplete series, but whatever. A Darker Shade of Magic, another fantasy trilogy on this list. I've only read The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue by V. Schwab like 2 years ago. By the way, almost exactly 2 years ago. And even though that wasn't my favorite book, I'm not saying I hated it, I just didn't really love it. However, I loved the writing. I've heard nothing but incredible things about this series in particular, so I'm quite excited to delve into it. There are basically 4 different Londons: red, white, grey, and once upon a time there also was a black London. And our main character, Cal, is one of a few people who can still travel between these Londons. And honestly, I don't know what happens from there, because I prefer to go into my books blind, so we shall see. Have a Soul. It is a Regency fantasy romance, ? Question mark? I'm not quite sure into which genre it falls. I know that our main character Dora has lost half of her soul when she was younger, so now she struggles with feeling certain feelings. And during the Regency era, that definitely causes some difficulties. In this book there are fairies, a really cool world, even cooler romance, at least from what I've heard, so I can't wait to read it. Plus, it's a relatively short book, so again, another great palate cleanser in between my high fantasies. Mile High is the first book in a series of interconnected romance standalones. I've heard that this book specifically, the first book in a series, is not people's favorite, and that the books get better as they go in the series, but I want to start from the first one to see maybe I'm gonna enjoy it. If I'm not mistaken, the MMC is a hockey player, so I'm guessing we have like a sports romance situation going on, and our FMC is a flight attendant on the private plane of MMC's team. I actually don't know what specifically people tend to dislike about this book, but maybe that's a good thing, because I'm not gonna set any prejudices and go with a fresh mind. Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. First book in a fantasy trilogy, and I've heard this book be compared to some of the Brandon Sanderson's works, even though I'm yet to read any of Brandon Sanderson's works, but that sounds good nonetheless. On Goodreads it says, Kissin's family were killed by zealots of a fire god. Now she makes a living killing gods and enjoys it. That is until she finds a god she cannot kill, Skedi, a god of white lies, has somehow bound himself to a young noble, and they are both on the run from unknown assassins. Joined by a disillusioned knight on a secret quest, they must travel to a ruined city of Blenredon, whatever, where the last of the wild gods reside, to each beg a favor. Pursued by demons and in the midst of burgeoning civil war, they will all face a reckoning. Something is rotting at the heart of their world, and only they can be the ones to stop it. Sounds great, sounds amazing. I love when books have quests, and I think I'm gonna enjoy it. Also, the cover looks amazing, and the map looks even better. Are you kidding me? So I'm very much excited for that series as well. And the bonus point is that all books are already out. Yes, no more waiting. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber is a series that is suggested to read after the Caraval trilogy by the same author to better grasp the world building. And since I already read Caraval in 2025, I can finally get to this series. Some people love Once Upon a Broken Heart more than they love Caraval, others saying that Caraval is so much better because Once Upon a Broken Heart is very childish and like a fairy tale. And I liked Caraval. It wasn't my all-time favorite series, but it was definitely a fun time. So now I'm excited to delve into this one, because I'm really curious to see which of these two series I prefer. Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. Yes, another book by the same author that I already have on the list, but I've read 4 of her books. 3 of those were 5 stars, so you can tell I like her. This is one of her less known series in comparison to Crowns of Nyaxia, but what I've heard from those who read the books, some of them like them even more than Crowns of Nyaxia, and that tells me something. In this series, we follow a girl whose name I really don't remember, as she joins this group of magic users to save her best friend. But before she can actually join, she has to train with this guy, and so they train together and slowly fall in love. Sounds kind of cliche, but also fun. A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn. This book is set in London in 19th century, and it is basically a mystery series with a romance subplot woven into it, and I've heard that romance is very, very good. I'm mostly excited for the mystery because that is my second favorite genre, but the amazing banter that I'm promised definitely makes me more excited for the series. Katie from Katie's Reading Booktube channel is obsessed with this series, and she's actually where I got a recommendation for this book from, and it honestly sounds really fun, so I'm definitely excited to give it a go. Assistant to the Villain. This book sounds like a rom-com but set in a fantasy world, and I'm really excited to see how that plays into the book. We follow a girl who becomes an assistant to this famous and super villainous villain, and so together they work, uncover some secrets, while also falling for each other. I have heard mixed reviews of this book and the series in general, and since it is a TikTok sensation, I'm kind of worried to go into it, and honestly I'm not expecting much besides just a fun giggly time, but maybe it is my next 5 stars, so who knows. Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson is a mystery book that is set in a private school. Sign me up. Honestly, that is one of my all-time favorite mystery settings, especially if it is YA. I don't know why. Maybe my dream as a kid of going to a private boarding school is now coming out in me loving these books. I don't know how that works, but I'm always eating these books up. I've heard no reviews, honestly, from people who I follow, so I'm actually excited to go into it without any set expectations. The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. It says, a new Victorian-inspired romantasy perfect for fans of Bridgerton, The Selection, and The Cruel Prince. Honestly, it sounds like something I'm gonna enjoy, even though I did not like The Cruel Prince as for the plot, but the vibes definitely delivered. The book sounds very magical, again very fairy tale-y, and I think I'm definitely gonna be in the mood for it after watching Bridgerton season 4. Which, off topic, I cannot wait for that season after watching the trailer. Are you kidding me? Sounds Like Love by Ashley Boston. I read The 7-Year Slip back in April or May, I think, and I actually loved that book. Unfortunately, it was not a 5-star because I didn't get the feeling, but it was 4.75, which is the next best. And this book's premise sounds so intriguing and I feel like so perfect for a romance book, because basically our main characters can hear each other's thoughts, which I think that's gonna be adorable, but also maybe cringy at moments. But I feel like Ashley Boston is the queen of unique romance book settings, and I very much cannot wait to get into this one of hers. Another romance book, Written in the Stars. It is a Sapphic Pride and Prejudice retelling, but in real world. Oh, hell yeah. It is the start of a series, again, a series of interconnected standalones, and I've heard that it is really cute and just adorable to read, so I cannot wait to read it, maybe in February during the Valentine's Day. Again, heard nothing but incredible things about this book from people who I follow who have read it. And the last book, but certainly not least, goes Nightshade by Autumn Woods. Another academical setting. Sue me. I guess you already can get that I'm a sucker for anything academical. In this book, we follow Ophelia as she goes into this private university, Sorrow Song University, to uncover some truth about her parents' death that are allegedly connected to the said university. I think this book is mainly a mystery, but there's also a romance plot going on. With who? I have no idea, but I'm excited to find out. It honestly just sounds perfect, like something I'm gonna enjoy. Mystery in an academical setting. Romance in an academical setting. Literally the perfect book for me. And these are all 26 books that I'm planning on reading in 2026. Definitely let me know what are some books that you're planning on reading in 2026, because I'm always looking for new books to add to my TBR. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos from me, I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.